Commander Jack Morrison stood at the observation window of Frontier Station Epsilon 7, watching another piece of the outer hull tear away into space. The metal groaned as it died, a sound he had grown to hate over the past 47 days. Behind him, the command center was quiet except for the occasional beep of failing systems and the shallow breathing of his exhausted crew. The Crethean warships hung in the darkness like predators circling wounded prey. 6 of them. Each one could destroy the station alone, but they were taking their time. They enjoyed watching humans suffer. "Commander, shield strength at 4%, Lieutenant Dan Cooper said from his station. His voice was flat, drained of emotion. There was no point in panic anymore. They will break through in the next attack. Jack nodded but said nothing. What could he say? They had sent distress signals for weeks. Every nearby ship had tried to reach them, and every one had been destroyed by the Crethean blockade. The nearest military force was 3 months away. They had maybe 3 days left. How many people left? Jack asked, though he already knew. 812, Maya Sullivan answered from the engineering console. The young woman looked like she had aged 20 years in the past month. We lost 6 more in the medical wing this morning. The life support system is failing in sections 4 and 7. 3,000 colonists had lived here when the attack began. Miners, families, children. Now most of them were dead or had died trying to escape. The Cretheans had made sure of that. Dr. Helen Carter entered the command center, her medical uniform stained with blood. She looked at Jack with tired eyes. "We are out of painkillers. I have 32 people dying in medical, and I cannot do anything for them." Jack felt something break inside him, but he kept his face calm. Leaders could not show weakness. "Not now. How long until the reactor fails, Maya?" Maya checked her screens, then looked up with fear in her eyes. 3 hours. Maybe 4. There is a coolant leak I cannot fix without parts we do not have. When it goes, it will take the whole station with it. "So we die in 3 hours or we die when the Cretheans break through," Helen said quietly. "Those are our choices." A message alert beeped on Dan's console. He read it and went pale. The Crethean commander is sending another transmission. He says this is our last chance to surrender. "What are his terms?" Jack asked. Dan's hands shook as he read. "He wants us to open the airlocks and come out with our hands up. He promises the adults will become slaves. The children will be taken to their breeding camps." Silence filled the command center. Everyone knew what happened in Crethean breeding camps. Death would be kinder. "Send him my answer," Jack said, his voice cold and hard. "Tell him that humans do not surrender. Tell him we would rather die free than live as their slaves. Tell him to go to hell." Dan nodded and began typing. Helen put a hand on Jack's shoulder. "It has been an honor serving with you, Commander." "The honor was mine, Doctor." Maya started to cry quietly at her station. She was only 24 years old. She should have had a whole life ahead of her. "Commander!" Dan suddenly shouted, his voice filled with shock. "I am reading something on long-range sensors. A contact, coming in fast from the Abyss sector." Jack spun around. "The Abyss? Nothing comes from there. It is empty space." "I know," Dan said, his fingers flying over his controls. "But there is definitely something there. The computer says it is moving at impossible speeds. The signature is wrong. It does not match anything in our database." "Could it be another Crethean ship?" Helen asked. Dan shook his head. "No. The energy pattern is human. But it is like nothing I have ever seen. It is old. Really old." Maya pulled up the data on the main screen. Her eyes went wide. "That power output cannot be real. No human ship can generate that much energy. It must be a sensor error." "The Cretheans see it too," Dan said. "They are moving 2 ships to intercept." Jack watched the screen as the unknown contact grew closer. Something stirred in his chest. Not hope. He had killed hope weeks ago. But maybe something close to it. Curiosity. Wonder. If they were going to die anyway, at least they would see what this thing was first. "Try to contact it," Jack ordered. "All frequencies." Dan sent the hails. Seconds passed. Then minutes. No response. The Crethean ships are in firing range, Maya reported. They are powering weapons. The command center went silent as everyone watched the main display. 2 Crethean cruisers, each one massive and deadly, moved to intercept the unknown ship. The mystery vessel kept coming, not slowing, not changing course. They are firing, Dan said. Plasma bolts streaked across space toward the unknown contact. They should have destroyed anything they hit. Instead, the mystery ship suddenly accelerated, moving faster than anything Jack had ever seen. It dodged the weapon's fire with impossible grace, then fired back. The weapon was like lightning made solid. It cut through the first Crethean cruiser from nose to tail. The enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness. "Dear God," Helen whispered. The second Crethean ship tried to retreat, but the unknown vessel was already on it. Another burst of that terrible lightning weapon, and the second cruiser came apart like a toy. 2 ships, Maya said in disbelief. It destroyed 2 Crethean cruisers in under 10 seconds. Jack felt his heart pounding. "Can you get a visual?" Dan worked his controls, and the main screen changed. Everyone in the command center stopped breathing. The ship that emerged from the darkness was like nothing they had ever seen. It was huge, bigger than any human vessel in the fleet. The hull was dark, almost black, covered in strange patterns that seemed to move in the light. Parts of it looked organic, like living metal. Weapon ports lined its sides, glowing with barely contained energy. "What is that thing?" Helen asked. Before anyone could answer, Dan's console beeped. "Incoming transmission. It is from the unknown ship. Audio only." "Put it through," Jack said. Static filled the speakers, then a voice. Male. Human. Tired but strong. Frontier Station Epsilon, 7. This is Captain Eric Kane of the HSS Vindication. Hold your position. We are bringing you home. The transmission ended. Jack stared at the screen, his mind racing. The HSS Vindication. He knew that name. Every officer in the fleet knew that name. It was a legend. A ghost story. "Commander," Maya said quietly. "The Vindication was lost 15 years ago. There were no survivors. Everyone knows that." "I know," Jack said, watching as the impossible ship moved toward them through the darkness. "I know." For the first time in 47 days, Jack Morrison felt something he thought he would never feel again. Hope. The 4 remaining Crethean warships moved into defensive positions around the station. Their commanders had watched 2 of their cruisers die in seconds, and now they were afraid. Jack could see it in the way they maneuvered, keeping the station between themselves and the Vindication. "The Crethean commander is hailing us," Dan said. "He wants to talk." "Let me hear it," Jack ordered. The voice that came through was different from before. No longer arrogant and cruel. Now it sounded nervous. "Human Station Commander. Tell your warship to stand down. If it comes closer, we will destroy your station. Your people will die." Jack looked at Helen and Maya. They both nodded. The reactor was going to explode anyway. They had nothing left to lose. "This is Commander Morrison. You have been trying to kill us for 47 days. Do whatever you want. It does not matter anymore." He cut the transmission before the Crethean could respond. Dan looked at him with wide eyes. "Commander, what if they really do destroy the station?" "Then we die 3 hours early," Jack said. "But I am done being afraid of them." The Vindication continued its approach, moving with a grace that no ship that size should have. Jack watched it on the screens, trying to understand what he was seeing. The hull seemed to shift and change as it moved, like it was alive. "I am reading massive energy buildup," Maya said. "The Cretheans are powering all weapons. They are going to fire on us." Jack felt strangely calm. After so many days of fear and death, he was ready for it to end. At least they would die knowing someone had tried to save them. "Wait," Dan said suddenly. The Vindication just disappeared from sensors. "What do you mean disappeared?" Helen asked. "I mean it is gone. Completely gone. No heat signature, no energy readings, nothing. It is like it was never there. Jack felt his hope crumble. It had been a trick. Some kind of illusion. There was no rescue coming. They were alone again. The Crethians are firing randomly into space, Maya reported. They look confused. I think they lost contact too. Reactor status. Jack asked quietly. Maya checked her console, and her face went white. Critical failure. The coolant system just collapsed completely. We have maybe 20 minutes before meltdown. Sound evacuation alarms, Jack ordered. Get everyone to the lower decks. The reinforced sections might give them a few extra minutes. What about the people in medical? Helen asked. Most of them cannot move. Jack closed his eyes. Do what you can, Doctor. I am sorry. Helen nodded and ran from the command center. The evacuation alarms started wailing through the station. People would be panicking now, running for shelters that would not save them. Commander! Dan shouted. 2 Crethian ships are turning toward us. They are going to ram the station. Jack looked at the screen. The enemy cruisers were accelerating, pointed straight at them like massive missiles. Even if the reactor did not explode, they would be crushed in minutes. I am sorry, he whispered to the empty air, to all the people who had trusted him to keep them safe. Then Captain Kane's voice came through the speakers again, calm and strong. Get your people to the lower decks. Now. Jack grabbed the station-wide comm, everyone to the reinforced sections immediately. This is not a drill. 30 seconds until impact, Dan said, his voice shaking. They are not going to miss. Maya stayed at her console, her hands flying over the controls as she tried to do something, anything, to stop the reactor meltdown. Jack wanted to order her to leave, but he knew she would not listen. 20 seconds, Dan counted down. Then, between one heartbeat and the next, the Vindication appeared. Not on sensors first. Not at a distance. It simply materialized in the space between the station and the incoming Crethian ships, so close that Jack could see every detail of its strange hull. How did it do that? Maya gasped. The Vindication fired its weapons. Not at the Crethian ships. At the space in front of them. Blue energy burst from the warship and formed a massive barrier, a wall of pure force that covered the entire station. The first Crethian cruiser hit the barrier at full speed. The barrier held. The cruiser did not. It crumpled like paper, its hull folding and breaking until it was nothing but twisted metal and debris. The second cruiser tried to pull up, tried to avoid the same fate. It was too late. It clipped the barrier and spun away, hull plates tearing off, engines exploding. It tumbled into the darkness, dead and broken. I do not believe what I just saw, Dan whispered. The 2 remaining Crethian ships were already running, their engines burning hot as they tried to escape. The Vindication moved faster. Its weapons reached out with surgical precision, targeting the enemy engines. Not destroying the ships. Disabling them. Both cruisers went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Maya, Jack said urgently. The reactor. She was staring at her console with shock on her face. The temperature is dropping. The coolant leak just stopped. But that is impossible. Nothing changed. The systems are the same. It should still be failing. Dan checked his screens. I am reading an energy beam from the Vindication. It is focused on our reactor section. They are doing something to it. The speakers crackled again. Epsilon 7, this is the Vindication. Your reactor is stabilized. We are sending over engineering teams to make permanent repairs. Prepare to receive medical personnel and supplies. We will begin evacuation of wounded in 1 hour. A different voice came on, female this time. Station Commander, this is Lieutenant Amy Ross, Tactical Officer. We have disabled the remaining enemy vessels. We are boarding them now to take prisoners. Do you want us to destroy them instead? Jack found his voice. No. Take prisoners. We need to know what they know about their fleet. Understood. Vindication out. Jack sat down heavily in his chair. His legs would not hold him anymore. Around him, Dan and Maya were doing the same. They looked at each other in stunned silence. What just happened? Maya finally asked. Jack watched the Vindication on the screen. The massive warship hung in space like some kind of dark angel, weapons still glowing with contained power. Small craft were launching from its bays, heading toward the station. "I think we just got saved by a ghost," Jack said quietly. "Now we need to figure out if that ghost is still human." Helen's voice came over the comm. "Commander, you need to get down to the docking bay. The Vindication crew is here. And Jack, you need to see this for yourself. I cannot explain it over the radio." Something in her voice made Jack's skin go cold. "I am on my way. Dan, you have command. Maya, keep monitoring that reactor." He ran through the damaged corridors of the station, past frightened colonists who were just beginning to realize they might actually survive. When he reached the docking bay, he found Helen standing with a group of people in strange uniforms. They wore the insignia of the HSS Vindication, but everything else about them was wrong. Their skin had a faint silver sheen. Their eyes reflected light like a cat's eyes. When they moved, it was with an unnatural grace, too smooth and fast to be fully human. One of them stepped forward. She was tall, with short dark hair and those strange glowing eyes. When she spoke, her voice was human but with an odd echo to it. "Commander Morrison. I am Dr. Nina Foster, Chief Medical Officer of the Vindication. We are here to help your wounded. Please show me to your medical facilities." Jack stared at her, trying to understand what he was seeing. "What happened to you?" he asked quietly. Dr. Foster's eyes met his, and in them he saw pain, determination, and something else. Something that might have been shame. "The abyss happened to us, Commander. Now please, your people are dying. We can talk later." Jack nodded and led them toward medical. Behind him, he heard Helen whisper a single word. "Impossible." The medical bay was chaos. Dr. Nina Foster and her team moved through the wounded with impossible speed, their hands glowing with faint blue light as they worked. Jack watched in amazement as injuries that should have taken hours to treat were healed in minutes. Helen stood beside him, her medical scanner in her hand. She kept checking it, then looking at the Vindication crew, then checking it again. "What are you reading?" Jack asked quietly. "I am not sure," Helen said. "Their bodies are human, but there is something else. The scanner picks up technology inside them. In their blood. In their cells. It is everywhere. They are part machine, Jack. Or part something else. I do not even know what to call it." A young Marine in Vindication uniform approached them. He saluted. "Commander Morrison, Captain Kane requests your presence aboard the Vindication. He is ready to brief you on our situation." Jack nodded. "Lead the way." The shuttle ride to the Vindication was short but strange. Through the viewports, Jack could see the warship up close. The hull patterns he had seen before were not just designs. They moved. Slowly, like breathing. Parts of the ship looked organic, covered in something that resembled skin more than metal. "What is this ship made of?" Jack asked the Marine. The young man looked uncomfortable. "It is better if Captain Kane explains, sir. I am not sure I understand it myself." They docked inside a massive bay. Jack stepped out and immediately felt wrong. The air tasted strange, like metal and ozone. The walls of the ship hummed with power. Lights ran beneath the surface of the floors, pulsing like veins carrying blood. The Marine led him through corridors that curved in impossible ways. The geometry did not make sense. Sometimes Jack felt like he was walking up when the floor looked flat. It made his head hurt. They reached a command center that was nothing like any bridge Jack had ever seen. Holographic displays floated in the air. The crew worked at stations that seemed to grow from the floor. And in the center of it all stood Captain Eric Kane. He was younger than Jack expected. Maybe 35, though his eyes looked much older. He had the same silver sheen to his skin, the same glowing eyes. But there was something else different about him. An aura of power that made the air around him shimmer. "Commander Morrison," Kane said, his voice warm despite everything. "Thank you for coming. I know this must all be very confusing." Jack saluted out of habit. "Captain Kane, I need to know what happened to you. What happened to your ship?" The Vindication was declared lost 15 years ago. Kane nodded slowly. We were lost. In more ways than one. Please, sit. This will take some time to explain. A woman stepped forward from one of the stations. She had commander's insignia on her strange uniform. I am Lisa Grant, First Officer. We have prepared a briefing for you, Commander Morrison. But I warn you, what you are about to hear will be difficult to believe. After today, I will believe almost anything, Jack said. Kane gestured and the holographic displays changed, showing star maps. 15 years ago, we were part of a classified program called Project Nightfall. Our mission was to explore the region you call the Abyss, a part of space where no human had ever gone. We were looking for new resources, new worlds. We found something else. The display showed an image that made Jack's blood run cold. A massive structure floating in space, bigger than any space station ever built. It was ancient and alien, covered in the same moving patterns he had seen on the Vindication's hull. We found ruins, Kane continued. The remains of a civilization that died millions of years ago. They were advanced beyond anything we can imagine. And we found their technology. What happened to them? Jack asked. Why did they die? Lisa Grant's face darkened. The Crethians happened to them. Or rather, the ancestors of the Crethians. We found records in the ruins. Data files that took us years to translate. This civilization fought a war against an empire that sounds exactly like the Crethian Empire. They lost. Jack felt his heart sink. If they lost, what chance do we have? That is why we came back, Kane said. They lost because they were not willing to do what was necessary. They tried to fight cleanly, with honor. The Crethians had no such limits. So this ancient race gave us a gift. They left behind weapons and technology designed specifically to fight the Crethians. Technology that could save humanity. But it came with a price. He held up his hand. The silver skin rippled and changed, becoming almost translucent. Jack could see circuits running beneath the surface, glowing with blue light. We had to become part of it, Kane said quietly. The technology is biological. It merges with living tissue. It makes us faster, stronger, able to survive in space without suits. But it changes us. We are not quite human anymore. The Vindication is the same, Lisa added. The ship is alive now. Part machine, part organism. We can control it with our thoughts. It repairs itself. It grows. But it needs us to survive, and we need it. Jack tried to process this. You said you had 200 crew. Where are they? The pain in Kane's eyes was terrible to see. We have 89 now. The rest did not survive the transformation. Or they went mad from it. Or they were killed fighting hostile aliens we encountered in the Abyss. We spent 15 years out there, Commander. 15 years fighting our way back home. Learning to use this technology. Becoming what we are now. Why did you come back now? Jack asked. Why not sooner? Because we were not ready, Kane said. The technology nearly destroyed us at first. It took years to learn to control it. To master it. And we needed to be sure we could make the journey back. The Vindication was dying. It still is. The organic parts are rejecting human presence. We have maybe one more long journey left in her before she tears herself apart. A man in engineering uniform approached. He looked tired and worried. Captain, I am Bobby Clark, Chief Engineer. The ship's condition is worse than we thought. The biological systems are failing faster now that we are in normal space. We might have weeks, not months. Kane nodded grimly. Then we use the time we have. He turned back to Jack. Commander, we detected your distress signal from deep in the Abyss. We diverted to help you because that is what humans do. We help each other. But I need you to understand something. The Crethian Empire is preparing a massive invasion. We captured data from those ships we disabled. They have a fleet of 500 warships gathering at their border. In 6 months, maybe less, they will attack Earth and every human colony. Jack felt sick. 500 ships. We have maybe 50 warships in the entire fleet. We cannot fight that. No, you cannot, Kane agreed. But there is more technology in the abyss. More weapons. More ships like the Vindication. The ancient civilization left behind an entire fleet, waiting for someone to claim it. That is why we came back. Not just to warn humanity. To give humanity a chance. You want to go back, Jack said, understanding. You want to bring back more of this technology. Yes. But we cannot do it alone. The Vindication is dying. We need people. Engineers to help keep her alive. Scientists to study the technology. Soldiers to crew the other ships when we find them. We need volunteers who understand what they are getting into. Lisa stepped forward. The transformation is voluntary. We will not force anyone. But those who choose this path need to understand there is no going back. Once the technology merges with you, you are changed forever. You become something new. Something that humanity might fear. Jack thought about the 800 people on his station. People who had been hours from death. People who now had a chance at life because of this crew of changed humans. I need to talk to my people, Jack said. They deserve to know the truth. All of it. Of course, Kane said. Take all the time you need. But, Commander, understand this. The Crethians know about us now. They will send word back to their empire. They will prepare. We do not have much time. Jack stood and saluted. Thank you for saving us, Captain. Whatever else you have become, you are still human where it counts. In here. He touched his chest, over his heart. Kane's eyes shimmered with moisture. For a moment, Jack saw past the glowing eyes and silver skin to the man underneath. A man who had sacrificed everything to give his people a chance. Thank you for saying that, Commander. You have no idea how much we needed to hear it. As Jack left the bridge, he heard Kane giving quiet orders to his crew. The voice was tired but determined. A voice that refused to give up, no matter the cost. Jack returned to the station with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. Humanity stood at a crossroads. They could cling to what they were and die, or they could change and maybe, just maybe, survive. The question was, how many people would be willing to pay the price? Jack called a meeting in the station's main assembly hall. Every person who could walk was there. The wounded who could not walk watched on video screens for medical. He stood at the front of the room and looked at the faces of people who had trusted him to keep them alive. I am not going to lie to you, he began. What I am about to tell you sounds impossible. But after today, I think we all know that impossible does not mean what it used to mean. He told them everything. About the Vindication's mission 15 years ago. About the abyss and the ancient ruins. About the technology that had saved them but changed the crew into something new. About the Crethian fleet that was coming. The silence in the room was heavy when he finished. People looked at each other with fear and confusion in their eyes. Captain Kane needs volunteers, Jack continued. People willing to go back to the abyss with them. To help bring back more of this technology. To crew the ancient ships they find there. But I want you to understand what you would be volunteering for. The transformation changes you forever. You would not be fully human anymore. And there is a chance you might not survive it at all. A man stood up in the back. Jack recognized him as a miner named Paul. So our choices are become monsters or wait here to die when the Crethians come back with their big fleet. They are not monsters, Helen said firmly. She had been standing beside Jack. I have examined them. They are still human. Their minds, their hearts, their souls. All still human. Just in different bodies. Easy for you to say, Doctor, Paul shot back. You are not the one being asked to turn into one of them. Helen looked at Jack, then back at the crowd. I am volunteering. I am going with them. They need medical personnel who understand both human biology and this new technology. I can help with that. Jack stared at her in shock. Helen, you do not have to do this. Yes, I do, she said quietly. These people saved us. The least I can do is help them save everyone else. Maya stood up from her seat. I am going too. I saw what that ship can do. I want to learn how to build things like that. If there are more ships in the abyss, you will need engineers to get them working. More people began to stand. One by one, calling out their names and skills. Soldiers, technicians, scientists, even some of the miners. Jack watched in amazement as 30 people volunteered in the first few minutes. But not everyone was happy. An older woman named Ruth stood up, her face angry. "This is insane. You are talking about giving up your humanity, about becoming alien things. And for what? To maybe bring back weapons that might work against an enemy we cannot even fight. What choice do we have?" Maya asked. "If we do nothing, the Crethians will kill everyone. Earth, the colonies, everyone we love. At least this gives us a chance." "A chance to become monsters," Ruth said. "Did you see them? Those glowing eyes, that silver skin. They are not human anymore. And if you go with them, you will not be either." Captain Kane's voice came through the speakers. He must have been listening. "She is right. We are not fully human anymore. We gave up part of our humanity to gain the power to protect the rest of humanity. It was not an easy choice. Some of my crew went mad from it. Some died. But the ones who survived, we did it because we love our people. We did it because someone had to." The room went quiet. Kane continued, his voice heavy with emotion. "I understand if you hate us for what we have become. I understand if you fear us. Sometimes I fear what I see in the mirror. But I would make the same choice again. Because the alternative is extinction." Ruth sat down slowly. She did not look happy, but she did not argue anymore. By the end of the meeting, 40 people had volunteered. Jack felt proud and heartbroken at the same time. These were brave people. People willing to sacrifice everything. 2 days later, a fleet arrived from the nearest colonial government. 3 ships, led by a captain named Donna Martinez. She was a by-the-book officer who took one look at the Vindication and immediately wanted it quarantined. "That ship is a contamination risk," she told Jack over a secure channel. "The crew is infected with unknown alien technology. They need to be isolated and studied." "Those people saved 800 lives," Jack said angrily. "They destroyed a Crethian blockade that your fleet could not even reach. Show them some respect. I understand they helped you, Commander. But we have protocols. Unknown technology, biological contamination, unauthorized modifications to human bodies. This is serious." Jack made a decision then. He opened a station-wide broadcast so everyone could hear. "Captain Martinez wants to arrest the people who saved us. She wants to lock them up and study them like lab animals. I want everyone to know that. I want everyone to decide if that is the kind of humanity worth saving." Martinez's face went red with anger. "Commander Morrison, you are way out of line." "No, Captain. You are out of line. These people are heroes. They spent 15 years in hell to bring back a way to save us. And your first response is to treat them like threats." Messages started flooding the communication channels. Station survivors, angry and supportive. They had seen the Vindication crew working to save lives. They had been helped by people with glowing eyes and silver skin who never stopped caring. Martinez backed down. "Fine. But there will be an inquiry. High Command will want answers." "Let them ask," Jack said. "We will tell them the truth." The night before the Vindication was scheduled to leave, Jack visited the ship one last time. He found Kane on the bridge, looking at star charts of the abyss. "Having second thoughts?" Kane asked without turning around. "Every second," Jack admitted. "I am sending 40 of my people with you into the unknown. People I care about. I do not even know if I will ever see them again." Kane finally turned. His glowing eyes were sad. "I cannot promise they will all survive. I cannot even promise the Vindication will make it back. The ship is dying, Commander. Bobby says we might have one more trip in her. Maybe. Then why go?" Jack asked. "Why not stay here? Help us prepare for the invasion." "Because one ship is not enough," Kane said. "Even with everything we learned, we cannot stop 500 Crethian warships alone. But there are dozens of ancient ships in the abyss. Maybe hundreds. If we can bring them back, if we can crew them, we have a chance. A real chance. Jack nodded slowly. Take care of my people, Captain. I will guard them with my life, Kane promised. And Jack, if we do not make it back, make sure humanity knows what we tried to do. Make sure they know we went into the darkness so they could stay in the light. I will, Jack said. I promise. The next morning, Jack stood in the observation deck and watched the Vindication prepare to leave. Helen, Maya, and 38 other volunteers were aboard. He had said his goodbyes. Now all he could do was watch. The massive warship began to move, its organic hull rippling with power. It accelerated faster than anything Jack had ever seen, heading toward the darkness of the abyss. Dan stood beside him. Do you think they will make it? Jack watched until the Vindication was nothing but a distant star. Then it vanished, disappearing into impossible speeds. I do not know, Jack said honestly. But I believe in them. They survived 15 years out there. They came back to save us when they could have just kept running. If anyone can do this, it is them. He thought about Kane's last words. About going into the darkness so others could stay in the light. It was the most human thing Jack had ever heard. Maybe being human was not about what your body looked like. Maybe it was about what you were willing to sacrifice for others. If that was true, then the crew of the Vindication was more human than anyone Jack had ever met. 3 months passed. The station was rebuilt, stronger than before. Captain Martinez's fleet had brought supplies and workers. Life was returning to normal, or as normal as it could be with the threat of invasion hanging over everyone. Jack spent his days helping coordinate defenses. The military was taking the Crethean threat seriously now. Ships were being built. Soldiers trained. But everyone knew it would not be enough. Not against 500 enemy warships. At night, Jack would stand at the observation window and look toward the abyss. Wondering if the Vindication had made it. Wondering if his friends were still alive. Wondering if they would ever come back. Dan joined him there one evening. Still no word. Jack shook his head. Nothing. They have been gone for 3 months. Kane said the ship was dying. Maybe they did not make it. Or maybe they are just taking longer than expected, Dan said. The abyss is a big place. Jack wanted to believe that. But with each passing day, hope grew harder to hold on to. Then, on a quiet morning during his 4th month of waiting, the alarms went off. Dan called him to the command center, his voice urgent. Commander, we are reading multiple contacts coming from the abyss sector. Big ones. Really big ones. Jack's heart started racing. How many? 12. No, wait. 15. They keep appearing. It is like they are jumping in from nowhere. Jack ran to look at the display. His breath caught in his throat. Ships were materializing in space, emerging from the darkness like ghosts. They were massive, each one as large as the Vindication. Their hulls were dark and covered in those same moving patterns. Ancient warships, reborn. Try to contact them, Jack ordered. Dan sent the hails. A moment later, a voice came through. Female. Familiar. Changed but still recognizable. Epsilon, 7. This is Dr. Helen Carter of the HSS Guardian. We are requesting permission to dock. Jack felt tears in his eyes. Helen, is that really you? It is me, Jack. Or what is left of me. We made it. We actually made it. How many ships did you bring back? 23. Captain Kane's voice joined the channel. We found 23 ancient warships that were still functional. It took us 4 months to get them all working and to crew them. We brought back 119 people, Jack. All of them transformed. All of them ready to fight. Jack looked at the display. 23 warships. Each one as powerful as the Vindication. It still would not be enough against 500 Crethean ships, but it was something. It was hope. Permission to dock is granted, Jack said. Welcome home. Hours later, Jack met them in the docking bay. He almost did not recognize them. The transformation had gone deeper than before. Their skin was more silver than flesh now. Their eyes glowed brighter. They moved like liquid, graceful and fast. But when Helen smiled at him, he could still see his friend underneath all the changes. "You look different," Jack said quietly. "I am different," Helen admitted. "We all are." The technology merged deeper this time. We needed it to. The ancient ships require a stronger connection to operate. But Jack, I am still me. Where it matters, I am still me. Maya walked up, barely recognizable. Her eyes glowed like stars. "Commander Morrison. We did it. We actually brought back an entire fleet." "Not everyone made it," Kane said, his voice heavy. "We lost 9 people during the transformation. Their bodies rejected the technology. And the vindication, she finally gave out. She died 2 days ago, right after we got the last ship operational. She held on just long enough to get us home." A moment of silence for the ship that had saved them all. Then Kane continued. "But we brought back data. Tactical information. The ancient civilization fought the Cretan ancestors for 1,000 years. They learned their weaknesses, their strategies. All of it is in our database now." "Can we win?" Jack asked. 23 ships against 500. Can we actually win? Lisa Grant stepped forward. "We do not know. But we have a chance now. These ships are weapons designed specifically to fight the Crethians. And we have more than just ships. We brought back manufacturing data. Plans for weapons. Shields. Ways to enhance your human fleet. If we have time, we can prepare." "How much time do we have?" Dan asked. Kane pulled up a holographic display. "According to the data we pulled from the captured Cretan ships, their invasion fleet will be ready in 3 months. Maybe 4. We need to use every second." The next few weeks were a storm of activity. The ancient warships were positioned around human colonies. Engineers studied the manufacturing data, building new weapons and shields. Human crews trained to work alongside the transformed warriors who now commanded the alien vessels. Not everyone was happy about it. Some people called Kane's people monsters. Some wanted them locked away. But most people, the ones who had been saved or who understood what was coming, they saw the transformed crew for what they really were. Humans who had sacrificed everything to protect their home. Jack spent time with Helen when he could. They would sit and talk about old times, before the war, before the changes. She told him about the abyss, about the wonders and horrors they had seen, about ancient cities floating in the void, about technologies that could reshape reality itself. "Do you regret it?" Jack asked one night. "Becoming what you are?" Helen looked at her silver hands, watching the light play across her changed skin. "Sometimes. When I look in the mirror and barely recognize myself. When I feel the technology in my blood, always there, always changing me. But then I think about the alternative. If we had done nothing, the Crethians would wipe out humanity. Every man, woman, and child. So no, Jack. I do not regret it. I would do it again." 3 months after the fleet returned, the Crethians came. Their invasion force dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. 500 warships, just as the intelligence had predicted. They came expecting an easy victory. They came expecting humans to run or surrender. Instead, they found 23 ancient warships waiting for them. And behind those ships, a human fleet enhanced with alien technology. Ships that could fight. Ships that could win. Jack watched from the command center as the battle began. The ancient ships moved through space like living things, their weapons tearing through Cretan shields as if they were paper. The human fleet fought alongside them, using the new weapons and tactics that Kane's people had taught them. It was not an easy battle. Ships were destroyed on both sides. People died. But slowly, impossibly, the humans began to win. The Crethians had never faced weapons designed specifically to counter their technology. They had never fought an enemy who understood their weaknesses. When it was over, 300 Cretan ships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 200 retreated, running back to their empire with tales of human ships that could not be defeated. The human fleet had lost 30 ships and thousands of lives. But they had won. Against impossible odds, they had won. Jack stood at the observation window and watched the ancient warships return to their stations. He could see the HSS Guardian, Helen's ship, its hull scarred but intact. Beside it, Kane's new command ship, a massive vessel he had named the HSS Defiance. Dan joined him. "We won, Commander. We actually won. This time," Jack said, "the Crethians will be back. They do not give up easily. But now we know we can fight them. Now we have a chance." His communicator beeped. It was Kane. "Commander Morrison, I wanted you to know. We are going back to the Abyss. There are more ships there. More technology. We will keep searching, keep learning, keep bringing back everything we can find. Humanity needs every advantage if we are going to survive this war." "You do not have to go back," Jack said. "You have done enough. More than enough." "Yes, we do," Kane said softly. "This is what we are now. Guardians. Protectors. We go into the darkness so humanity can stay in the light. It is who we are. It is who we have to be." Jack understood. Some people were meant to stand in the light. Others were meant to guard that light from the shadows. Kane and his crew had become the Guardians, willingly giving up their place in the light to protect everyone else. "Then go with our thanks," Jack said. "And our prayers. Come back safe, Captain." "We will try, Commander. We will try." Jack watched as the ancient warships prepared to leave. They had come from the endless dark when all hope was lost. They had changed everything. And now they were going back into that darkness, searching for more ways to protect the species they had once been fully part of. The ships vanished one by one, disappearing into impossible speeds. Jack stood at the window long after they were gone, thinking about sacrifice and hope. About what it meant to be human when your body was no longer fully human. About love strong enough to accept permanent change. Dan put a hand on his shoulder. "They will be back." Jack nodded. "I know. And when they come back, we will be ready. We will build more ships. Train more people. Whatever it takes. The Crethians started this war, but we are going to finish it." He looked up at the stars, at the endless darkness between them. Somewhere out there, Kane and Helen and Maya and all the others were searching for ways to save humanity. They had lost their old lives, their old bodies, their place in normal society. But they had gained something too. Purpose. Strength. The power to protect those they loved. And in the end, that was the most human thing of all. To sacrifice yourself so others could live. To walk into darkness so others could stay in the light. To lose everything and still keep fighting. They had lost all hope once. And then, out of the endless dark, a human warship had taken shape. And everything had changed. Hope had returned. And this time, it would not be lost again.